Hey everyone, and welcome to another Spodcast. We are about 5 episodes in. People are still watching, so obviously it's either me not boring you or my guests aren't boring you. I'm assuming it's going to be the guests. So, rather than me introducing myself, I'm CJ by the way, I'm going to introduce some of the guests I have this week. Now, I've got a UK Comic Con edition. These are people I've met at Comic Cons. We're all northeast based in the UK, so it's great to see all of their faces because I haven't seen their faces in over a year now. So it's great to have them on. So first up, I'd like to introduce my friend. And if he doesn't say a certain Obi-Wan quote when he says this, I'm going to be disappointed. But it's Andy. Hey, Andy.
Hello there.
There we go. That's what I wanted to see. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Just getting by best I can these days.
Yeah. And if you didn't guess, I know Andy because he does a damn good Obi-Wan when he has the hair. Anyway, it's all cut off.
Yeah, there's a long story with that one. Because my hair's starting to thin a little bit, so I was getting like a slight bit of a ball patch at the back, and then I just like, I think
shave it off.
I think during the first lockdown, I just thought, there's no cons to go to. I just like take it all back just to sort of like save on barber prices.
I wish I had that problem right now. My hair, it can go in a ponytail. And talking about people with a ponytails, our next guest is sitting there with a nice long ponytail. It's Bethany. Hey Bethany, how are we doing?
Hi, I'm doing good, thank you.
And Bethany does some awesome Disney cosplays, but just recently in the past few days has done a bloomin' awesome Wanda from WandaVision from the latest episode, which we'll talk about more later. But I loved your Wanda cosplay that you've done.
If you can't believe that was just purely off my phone and a very, very free app that I found, editing app.
Always handy. And plus, you had the outfit actually at home already. Cosplays, you gotta love them.
Yeah, definitely.
And finally, another friend of mine. I used to know him as Deadpool, but he is also a northeaster like me. It is John. Hey, John.
Hi, CJ. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, it's good. And it's good to have all of you guys join me on the podcast today. So, let's get started. Let's talk about our first discussion point. And it's a one that I was a bit worried about thinking when I heard about it announced. But after I've seen the trailer, I thought it was really good. And that is Cruella starring Emma Stone. Now, I'm going to jump straight in with Bethany because Bethany is a huge Disney fan. And I want to get her opinion first. Bethany, what did you think of this Cruella trailer?
The same as you, CJ. I was a little bit on the fence about it because obviously we know the whole story with the live actions and they can be a little bit, it's a bit like Marmite. But with the trailer, I'm quite happy and I'm hoping there is a link with the live action versions that we already have of Cruella de Vil and the 101 Dalmatians. Because it looks like the same film style, which I just love.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see Emma Stone taking on this role as well.
I was shocked that it would be Emma Stone because I thought Emma Stone, because Cruella's quite a tall, scary person, whereas Emma Stone seems quite shorter. But I think it's more the persona that she's pulling off in the trailer that has really sold it. And I'm glad to see it's actually a prequel to 101 Dalmatians and kind of introducing her character. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Now, Andy, I don't know if you're a very big Disney fan, but what did you think of that Cruella trailer? Has it piqued your interests?
I think so. I mean, I do like how Disney's sort of going down the route now of kind of going into the heart of the villain's sort of backstory. So kind of shedding a bit more light on their side of things and kind of pitting them in probably not a good light, but again, sort of like putting the spotlight on the villain and sort of going through their story. I mean, it's kind of like the novel series where it's kind of like the alternate version of where the villain gets the wins the day and gets their sort of goals implemented. So yeah, I think it's a good sort of direction that Disney are going down at the moment.
Yeah, it's nice to see that the villains are being treated like the heroes of the movie, but they're not necessarily the heroes, but kind of getting their perspective of why they become who they are is a very kind of interesting trope in a sense. Now, John, I don't know if you're much of a Disney fan, but what did you think of that Cruella trailer?
See, I agree with Andy. It's good to see Disney showing the villains in a different light and showing like how they became who they are. Like the same way they did with the Maleficent movie. I don't think they're going to show Cruella in as good of a light as they did with Maleficent, but it'd be good to see what they do.
Yeah, because obviously most people, I'm assuming, knows the story of 101 Dalmatians, and that seems to be Cruella at a more older age, whereas this seems to be Cruella at the very beginning, very young, looks like first time going to London and trying to make a name of herself. What would you like to see in the film, though? What sort of elements would you like to see? Bethany, I'll go back to you on this because I know you'll want to desperately talk about some more Disney stuff, but what would you like to see in this Cruella film?
I think I would definitely like to see the direction as to where she goes with her, because obviously in the trailer, as we can see, it's a lot of a punk rock type of feel. Like it looks like they're basing it in the early 90s. And it'll be quite nice to have the tie-in with like Glenn Close's performance. That's especially what I want to see, like little hints to the episode, like to the movies. But yeah, that's pretty much what I want to see, just sort of her backstory. Obviously it seems like they're going down like a psychopathic mental health type of thing at the moment, but we'll have to obviously wait and see when the movie comes out, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it definitely has a kind of punk rock feel to it. I've got to say, I was shocked at how the trailer was. It was not what I was expecting to be kind of.
It didn't have the same feel as what Maleficent did, like, and that's what took me kind of surprised. But the only thing that drew me back was the drive up to the house, and I was like, I was just all over. I was excited because I went, it's the same house. Well, similar in style as the one that we see in the live action version. So when it is definitely hinting at nods at that, but it was the direction of it. It felt more like a Suicide Squad type of trailer. With the entrances.
I think if they hadn't have actually revealed it was the Cruella trailer, you would have just thought it was just an Emma Stone film. I don't know about you, Andy, but is that the type of film that you'd like to see? Or because you know it's Disney, you'd be tempted to go see it? Or is this going to be a I'll wait till it's out on DVD sort of job?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got the makings of a good heist movie. So it looks like there could be some elements of where she could probably get a crew together, do like cause a bit of mayhem. So there could be like some really good storytelling, like sort of elements in there. So I mean, I'm quite looking forward to checking it out.
What about you, John? Are you an Emma Stone fan? Will you be wanting to check this one out in the cinema?
I think I'll definitely give it a go. It does seem like it could be a very interesting movie.
Yeah, I think I'll end up going. I know Bethany does. I don't even need to ask Bethany. Bethany's going to be at the cinema straight away.
I'll definitely go a few times.
But I like the idea that mentioned that it could be sort of a heist film, like an Ocean's 11, where there's potential where there could be a sequel, where it could just be Cruella becoming, like, doing these heists and just becoming more and more evil until she becomes the Cruella that we know from the animated series. But I think Cruella is definitely going to be an interesting film. With just obviously a 2-minute trailers, not much you can tell. But I don't know about you guys, but I think Emma Stone seems to be in her element in this trailer and really seems to be enjoying doing this kind of fun, crazy side. I don't know if you guys agree or not.
Definitely agree. I think she's definitely made Cruella her own, which I'm happy about.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll move on from Cruella because there's another interesting show that's just been announced by Netflix, and they are going to do a live action Wednesday Addams show. Now, I grew up on the Addams Family, the original, the black and white one. I loved the films that came out as well. There's been animated versions, but now they're doing my favourite character as well, which is Wednesday Addams, and a live action version, which I was surprised at because I thought it would have been animated. But most surprising is Tim Burton is going to be the one that is linked to it. Now, Andy, I don't know if you're a fan of Tim Burton in the Addams Family, but what do you think of this announcement?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty good. I mean, going for what you've been saying there, obviously with like a Netflix series being like the big thing now, I've kind of got like a preemptive sort of thought process of it could sort of go down the route of like not sort of follow the usual like portrayal that we've seen in film beforehand, but sort of like with the new Sabrina series that was on Netflix, so it took like a much more darker turn. So I think it'd be cool to sort of explore that sort of side of things and like make it a bit more darker than the original source material.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being dark. I think that would be, especially with Tim Burton as well. So you've got kind of the magic, artistic style of Tim Burton, but the darkness of what a majority of Netflix shows are bringing out. What about you, John? Are you an Addams Family fan, or is this something that you're not too keen on?
I loved the Addams Family movies, but I'm a massive Tim Burton fan, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this show, especially with all the how dark Tim Burton can make some of his movies when he wants to try and do it, which I think will fit in very well with Addams Family, especially with Wednesday.
And I suppose Nightmare Before Christmas is Tim Burton, isn't it? I'm not going insane. I think his style of Nightmare Before Christmas going into a Wednesday live action could be a very interesting mix, and obviously with our resident Disney expert as well, this is the reason why I've mentioned this. Do you feel like we could have some Nightmare Before Christmas elements mixed into Wednesday, or do you think it's going to be a totally unique style?
I think definitely yes, but also I think as well possibly Sleepy Hollow as well. Remember as well that was a Tim Burton movie, and I think it'll probably be the similar thing of that, and as well with the material that is already out there about Wednesday. We have a musical called The Addams Family, which explores her and like growing up, and like so it'll be interesting to see if he uses material like based off that. But I think he'll probably will use like an element of Nightmare Before Christmas and all of the other work as well. But I'm pretty excited to see how it works out.
See, the first thing that came to mind for me as soon as they announced it was Christina Ricci, and I don't know if you've ever seen the photo that she did a few years ago where she was the same age as, what was her name, Angelica Houston when she was Morticia, and Christina Ricci had actually dressed as Morticia. I don't know about you guys, but do you like the idea of Christina Ricci playing the mother, Morticia, in the live action? I think that would be a really nice kind of nod and homage to the films. What do you guys reckon? Do you think Christina Ricci may appear in it in some way or form?
I think she will. I think it'll be more like a cameo, but like what they did with Sabrina and the ants. I think that would just be a nice little thing. It would be amazing if she agreed to be any part of it, just to tie it in.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy? Is there anyone particular you'd like to actually see in the series?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Not really giving that much thought to it, but I mean, I think going to the whole actress to play Morticia, I mean, it would be a really good, trying the best way to describe it. I think trying to get her to get her on set again might be a bit of a challenge, because I remember watching a video about it where she actually hated being in the dress, because I think it was like the corset was that tight on it. She actually burnt the dress after filming. So it would take a good silver tongue to get her back on set. But yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see some of the original cast from the original films, possibly. But again, it'd be a good little like throwback to like the originals, and like get like that little nod to the old cast.
Now, obviously, Tim Burton, one of the main stars that always works with Tim Burton, and many people have screamed at the idea of having Johnny Depp as Gomez. John, do you think this could be the opportunity where the fans get what they want and have a Johnny Depp Gomez?
So as you've just said that, I've just thought of how good of an idea that would actually be. He does already suit the role of Gomez.
I think it'd be interesting to see how Johnny Depp could actually do his usual over-the-top OTT. See, now I'm picturing a Captain Jack Sparrow type as Gomez, because it's just an iconic character. But could you see Johnny Depp really working in this role, Bethany? Is there anyone you'd particularly like to see? Do you think a Christina Ricci, Johnny Depp thing might work?
It would, but to be honest, there's so many, like, especially upcoming actors as well, like sort of older upcoming actors, which could probably potentially fit the role. To be honest, I can't really think of any names, but Johnny Depp would be good, but it would also obviously depend on if Netflix are happy for him to be on. I mean, obviously with what's recently been happening and what is still, I think it's still going on, isn't it, the case in America? So I think it would all depend on that, but it would be amazing if it's like the same thing what I said with Christina, if it was a walk-in part or a cameo, definitely.
It's either that or they've got Oscar Isaacs as a backup as well, which I think would be brilliant.
He would be really good, yeah.
But who knows what's happening again? It's very early doors on this announcement. I think the best thing they can do is to have an unknown play Wednesday, so there's no associations linked to that. I'd love to see some of the old kind of cast from the movies. TV show, I think most of them would. I don't think many of them are still alive, it's that old, but it'd be great to see some of them appear in some form. And obviously the focus is going to be Wednesday, but I'd be very, very shocked if there wasn't some sort of family links and them just making appearances in some sort of way. So, moving on from Addams Family, let's have a look at another trailer that came out this week, and that is Mortal Kombat, the famous game series, which is up to Mortal Kombat 11. It's very gory, it's very brutal, I think, is probably the nicest word you can put. It's had previous films that were very mixed in the 90s, but they are bringing it back, and this trailer looks very impressive. It looks like it's trying to stick more to the game's style. John, have you ever played any of the Mortal Kombats, and what did you think of this movie trailer?
I love all the Mortal Kombat games. I haven't seen the original movie, so I wouldn't know what to expect from that.
You're not missing much, I'm just saying.
But watching this trailer, it felt like it had all the gore, all the brutality that the fans expect from the games. So it'd be good to see that on like the live screen as well.
And you're saying you've played the games, were you a big fan of the games? What sort of things from the games would you like to see move into the movie?
I liked seeing like the origins of the characters. So it showed that where most of the characters from the games came from in the movie, in this trailer. So it'd be good to see like their backgrounds as well.
Now, Bethany, I don't know if you've played many of the Mortal Kombat games, but do you want to see a lot of the gore from the games come into the film, or do you want a more story-led based film, or is this just totally not your type? It's definitely very different to Disney.
It is. I've seen people play it. I do watch people play it, and I've seen the most recent game, which does explore the backstory of the characters. So when I watch the trailer, which I only watched this morning, I like the approach they're going for. Obviously, the 90s versions, we won't say anything else of them, but I'm liking how this approach is more of new people stepping into the roles from the looks of things. Like, somebody's been chosen to become on the path of the Mortal Kombat, but the gore and the fighting styles, they have hit the nail on the head with like how graphic they are, and some of the CGI is quite impressive as well, I've noticed.
See, I always have that worry that do they reveal too much in the trailers and have they ruined some of the best scenes? I don't know about you, Andy, but do you think the trailer has gave everything away, or do you think there's going to be a bit more brutality and a bit more to it when the film is actually released?
Yeah, I think there's always a lot more room for that sort of thing. 'Cause I know a lot of trailers do kind of give a lot of the plot away, but I don't think it has in this one as such. I mean, for the first few seconds, it looked like a very well-made fan film, but then as soon as the guy's arms are like frozen off, I was like, oh, yeah, here we go. Like, this is definitely Mortal Kombat. So I think like the level of gore's there, and yeah, I think there is like a lot of room for the storytelling aspects. It'd be cool to see, again, like what Beth has said, just like sort of see how the characters like started the journeys and how they progress to where they are. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of room for like for a lot of story and dialogue going on.
And I don't think we've been shown all the characters yet either. I have a feeling about that with the way they presented it. I don't think they have revealed everything yet.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how they move forward, because one of the most famous parts of the Mortal Kombat series is obviously the finish him scenes where they brutally murder to opposition. Now, a thing like Mortal Kombat, they will want sequels. They'll want to have a series of films to make the most money. But in order to do that, they would have to kill a lot of the main characters. And I think that's one of the things that I hated about the 90s version, is there wasn't actually any main character kind of killed off. Now, obviously, John, you've played the games. Do you think the movie is going to cop out and not kill some of the main characters, or do you think they're going to be true to the game and kill off a lot of the characters that we know?
I think if they want to keep the fans happy, they are going to have to kill off some of the main characters. Obviously, they don't want to kill any of the really big ones, like with Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Obviously, they're the two of the biggest characters in Mortal Kombat. They can't really be killing them off as quickly as they want.
What about Sub-Zero? Obviously, I think Sub-Zero dies and then he comes back as, I want to say, Noob Sabot, if I'm saying that right. Sabot.
I think sounds about right. Yeah.
So if they could do that, and obviously there is a storyline in some of the original Mortal Kombat games where Johnny Cage. Johnny Cash is the singer. He's definitely dead. He's definitely not in the films. But Johnny Cage is also killed and actually comes back as a ghost in the background of some of the things as well. He is probably my top bet if they will kill him off and bring him back in some form or way. But obviously the people making Mortal Kombat may be scared to kill too many because they'll want the sequels. Now, what about you guys? Is this a film that you're going to want to go see when it's safe in the cinemas, or is this going to be, I'll just wait till it comes out in the future? What about you, Bethany? Is this going to be a film that you're going to be eager to see?
Wait to come back, because if I quite remember, we had the World of Warcraft movie that came out a couple of years ago, and yeah, the reviews that came out about that, and it was a bit. I probably might go and see this at the cinema because it definitely looks different to the 90s version, and if they are thinking about doing sequels, I would be quite interested to see how they try and flow on with the story, to see where it leads to, and obviously which character does get killed off, or if they go down a completely different route and surprise us. But maybe.
See, if they somehow bring in the toasty guy when someone does it, it's like it's someone's text message tone or something like that. That will kill me in some way. What about you, Andy? Do you think you'll be seeing this at the cinema, or is this going to be I'll wait till the reviews, I'll maybe wait till it's on a streaming service?
Yeah, probably the latter. So I'll probably sort of wait and see, how what the critics take to it, because I know normally it's always subjective. You can find some films that critics don't like, but you'll probably love. So I'll probably wait to attend Netflix or some kind of other streaming service that we've got to hand. So yeah, definitely coming out like a little back burner one for me.
And John, obviously Mortal Kombat fan, played the games. Is this going to be a cinema one for you?
I think it's definitely going to be a cinema one for me as soon as it's safe. I mean, watching the trailer, for me, the trailer just got better and better. Maybe want to go see it more.
Yeah, I just can't decide. I quite enjoy. I watched the 90s film not too long ago for a friend online, and it was so bad. So bad. But it's what you expect from Mortal Kombat. Now, this one, I want it to be a little bit cheesy. I want it to kind of give itself a nod that it is a game. It is a bit of humour, fun that people are watching it for, and we want to have some gore. We want to see people's heads ripped off with the spines dangling down, because that is Mortal Kombat. Whether they're going to do that, I'm hoping it's going to be an 18 or an R rating if you're from the States, because I can't see Mortal Kombat as a 12 or a 15 working to what the fans want. It's like, tickle him.
It's going to be R rated over here. I think there has been like a statement put out, because it's a red, like it is advertised as a red trailer. So I think they are going to consider it as an 18.
Good. That's what we need. Want lots of blow, lots of blood and gore. That's it. I love it when I combine words. That's the new coin I'm doing for Mortal Kombat now. It's called blow. It's blood and gore in a film. But yeah, that should be really interesting to see. And as long as they kind of meet the standards that we're expecting for the game, hopefully it will be a good movie. Also this week, there's been a bit of major casting news. Now, I think it's really interesting casting news, and I think it's making it really exciting, and people forget the cast news is actually not for their own film, but Sasha Calle has been announced as the new Supergirl for the DC movies. But everyone is forgetting that this is just for a part in the Flash movie. So she may only be in the film for 10-15 minutes. But it is for the Flash film. Now, are you a fan of the DC films at all, John? I'll jump with you straight away. What do you think of this casting news?
So, I mean, I'm a fan of DC films. I've watched some of the series. I was quite surprised, honestly. I know DC have done it before, where they've got someone playing the role in the TV series, and they'll cast somebody different for the movie. And I thought surely it would be probably better just to get the one from the TV show.
Now, I think because of the way the TV and the movies, originally they weren't interlinked. They were seen as two separate universes. But recently they had Crisis on Infinite Earths on the TV shows where the movie Flash and the TV Flash actually met, which means they can interlink them in some way. But I think it's what they're trying to do with the films is they're trying to show different universes and that all of them have different versions of different characters. But unless you're aware, the Flash movie is about something called Flashpoint, where Barry Allen goes back in time to try and save his mother, and he changes everything going forward. So certain people don't meet, certain superheroes aren't created or appear. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they show that in the movie. What about you, Bethany? What do you think of this casting for Supergirl?
Well, I do dabble in a bit of DC, but I think it's quite interesting that she's a upcoming actor and she's also been nominated for an Emmy as well, like a daytime Emmy. That's quite something for a young performer. And as you said as well, if they are going down the routes of the different universes, and with the films as well, this could potentially be a really good starting point for her with this performance, even if it is just 10 minutes of a performance is that strong and noticeable, then I'll probably will sit and watch this movie and see where she goes.
I think they could be trying to push towards having a separate Supergirl movie and kind of gauge how people find the character, how they find her as an actress going forward. Andy, are you a big fan of DC at all, or what you would like to see from Supergirl?
Well, to be honest, I think I'm more like a Marvel buff myself. So as far as the MCU, that's my preferred area. Whereas DC, I've not really checked it out much. I think I only really watched Batman vs Superman like a year or two back on Netflix. So it's one of them, again, kind of like a back burner thing for me. So I'm not really holding out for much. Obviously, it's not really my specialised area. But I do like what Beth said, where it's given an upstarting actress that shot at a role instead of giving it to an A-list celebrity who gets all the work kind of thing. So I think it's good that they're sort of going down that route of finding an actor or an actress who isn't that well known yet and kind of giving them that little platform, even just for 10-15 minutes, and that could just be that little bit of land that they need to sort of jumpstart the career forward.
And I think it also helps because people have this assumption with Supergirl and having a recognisable actress to have these assumptions already, whereas having someone that maybe isn't a household name, it means they can play with the character, do something different and kind of mould Supergirl into the way they want rather than our expectations of the actress. Now, the reason why I've kind of rushed through the news is because I want to talk about what Andy's just mentioned, and that is Marvel-related stuff, because this week has been a very interesting week in regards to Marvel news in the fact of WandaVision. And the episode that we had just a few days ago, we're recording this on the Sunday, so 2 days after, is been very, very interesting. So if you have not seen WandaVision and you don't want spoiled, please pause, walk away, go watch the episode, and then come back. If you've watched it, stick around. If you haven't watched it and you just don't care, stick around anyway. You might learn something. But yeah, WandaVision, what an episode. We finally had a reveal of, and this is my personal theory, just one of the baddies that I think is working against Wanda. So, Bethany, I'm going to come to you just because you were dressed as Wanda the other day on TikTok and Instagram and everything like that. What did you think of the big reveal of Agatha?
I knew from episode 1. I honestly thought the reveal was very, very well done. It was done because I think obviously the build-up's been just perfect, and that reveal felt like a reveal like what we would see in a movie. But I definitely don't think she is the main villain. I think there is definitely somebody at work there, and if it is who I think it is, I'm very, very excited. I can't pronounce his name, but if it's
Mephisto?
who I think it is, Mephisto. If it's Mephisto, then
I disagree with you, and I'll come back to that in a bit because I do want to go into something else. But John, obviously you've watched WandaVision as well. What did you think of the Agatha reveal? Personally, I think it was obvious she was going to be the kind of the baddie, but I think they wanted us to know she was the baddie. But they were, and the way they did the song at the end kind of played into the fact that we knew, but still made the reveal interesting. What did you think of that whole kind of ending to the episode?
So I mean, I only just watched all 7 episodes yesterday myself, so I've been left with so many questions. But there was hints throughout the episodes that there was definitely something about her that wasn't quite right, and yeah, I'm very interested to see who else is at play here.
And what about you, Andy? Did you think the reveal, even though I think everyone agrees that was pretty obvious, but how do you think they actually handled the reveal of Agatha?
I think they did it quite well. I mean, I'm going to sound pretty stupid because I didn't even see it coming. But I mean, like, thinking back, I was like, actually, yeah, like, it does kind of make sense. Like, obviously, the word times where she did kind of break the fourth wall and sort of like said, "Oh, you know, like, should I do that bit again?" You know, I was just like, which got me going. All right, so. But then it kind of makes sense where like she's not under like whatever Wanda's got going on, so like she's kind of like beyond that barrier. And yeah, I think they did it really tastefully, like really well. But I think with that sort of like side of Marvel, it's kind of when I first watched Guardians of the Galaxy. Cause I've never read the comic books for it, so I didn't know what to expect. So I've kind of seen it with like a fresh pair of eyes, and I'm kind of getting the same sense here with like. Especially when it comes to like the mystic and arcane side of things, so things like Doctor Strange, I didn't really like know much about that. So it's just kind of nice, like watching Marvel with like a fresh perspective, and like I'm not like jump starting and kind of expecting too much. I mean, it's like with like Spider-Man or the X-Men, you kind of know what's going to come, so you sort of like preempt it. Whereas now I have to kind of like sit back and sort of like watch it with the characters as they sort of reveal things and you know. Just go things for themselves.
Now, obviously, Agatha is kind of being made out to be the big bad, and we've talked about where maybe there's someone else in control. But throughout the episodes, people kept saying, "Oh, she made me feel like this and that," and they never actually specifically say Wanda, or they just assume it's Wanda, when actually it could be Agatha that's controlling everyone. Now, Bethany, you said your theory is that it's Mephisto who was seen as the devil of the Marvel Universe. But I want to kind of flip that on its head slightly, and I want to suggest that it's actually a character called Nightmare, who is linked to Mephisto and things like that, but he kind of feeds off people's dreams, and when people have been taken over, they keep talking about how as if they're out of control, it's like a bad dream and everything like that. And my theory is that Agatha is working for Nightmare. She's putting them in this kind of dream state. You'll notice all of the roots are kind of feeding off Westview, and I think it's actually Nightmare feeding off them. And the second reason for this is because Elizabeth Olsen said in an interview or on social media, or I've read it on social media, that we should expect a Mark Hamill type of reveal at the end of the season. Now, if people aren't aware, in some of the animated Marvel shows, Mark Hamill has voiced Nightmare. Now, could they just be trying to be very clever in hinting on what's to come, and could Mark Hamill be voicing Nightmare in the future? Or could they just be hinting at something totally different? What do you think, Bethany? Do you think there's something more at foot here in the Agatha Harkness reveal?
I definitely think so, and I like that theory with Nightmare, and one of my friends have been sort of saying it could be him as well. But like with what you've said with what Elizabeth said, Paul Bettany also said about an actor who he's always wanted to since childhood act with, and I think it was an actor that recently who'd voiced Mephisto. So both of them are sending these mixed messages. So I think it's going to be a surprise either way of who it's going to be, because I think they're the two lead winners, and I think you're definitely right. I think Agatha is the one that's controlling the people in Wanda's verse. I think the only person Wanda's controlling is herself. vision
I think
part.
maybe she's also controlling the shield around them, so she's using her power for the shield, but Agatha's maybe controlling the people within the hex or whatever it's called, maybe?
Definitely, from the looks of things, definitely is, because obviously the Halloween episode, like the people standing still, and how she, obviously now we know she's the only one that was animated around that area. It's definitely linking to that she's helping out somebody way bigger, and that Wanda's definitely in a mental state not to mess around with, especially after this week.
Now, John, you've just watched all of the episodes all in one go. Are you happy with the Agatha reveal, or do you feel that we should have another baddie kind of announced or revealed, or would Agatha just be the nice sort of de facto baddie for this season?
I think there definitely needs to be another reveal for another baddie at some point in the season. I was quite happy with the Agatha reveal. I mean, I was happy with all 7 episodes, to be honest. I was just left with questions, like so many of them.
I think that's just kind of the thing with WandaVision, that there's never a chance not to get, like, as soon as you get an answer, you're kind of like, oh, well, now I have 50 questions linked to that. How do you move forward? What would you like to see moving forward with this reveal, John?
I'm not sure about what I'd like to see from this reveal. I mean, I want to see... Obviously, they ended at a part that obviously left everyone waiting for the next episode. It was... I mean, there's so much I want to know about this already.
I suppose now you've mentioned it, the Monica Rambeau story arc of her now becoming, well, I want to say fought on, but there's also another character that she is called as well. Her mum had fought on, everyone assumed she was going to become fought on, but I've just totally forgot the superhero's name. Is it Spectrum? Spectrum? Yep, Spectrum, where she kind of can see different powers and energies. Do you think, and I'll go with you on Andy, do you think it's been a good reveal for Monica Rambeau's superhero character? Obviously with her moving into Captain Marvel 2 and becoming her own superhero. Do you think her story arc has been good in Wanda, and this reveal of her having the powers?
I think so. I mean, I think with the likes of that kind of character, because obviously, like we all know kind of like the mainstay characters of the Marvel universe. I think it's kind of cool how they're sort of bringing in the more obscure ones that you wouldn't have normally sort of like seen or heard of. And obviously, I've not really heard of like the Monica Rambeau. But obviously, I knew she was kind of related to the whole Captain Marvel like the plot line. So again, I kind of sat on the back burner, sort of like thinking, oh, I'm kind of like riding this out with the characters, kind of like just like discovering things as we go. I mean, it'd be cool to see how they've gone around the whole thing with Pietro, because obviously they've brought in the other actor who plays Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Yeah. And
I started watching it with Amy the other night, and she was sort of like she had the theory that it's kind of like conjured up by Agatha, because she didn't know what Pietro looked like, so she just kind of like brought something in that kind of vaguely resembled him. But it'd be cool to see like where his plotline goes, is he just like someone who lives in Westview, who just kind of like looks sort of like Pietro, or is it just kind of like a manifestation of something more otherworldly?
Now, one thing I want to kind of bring up as well, and something that's been bothering me, is Emma Caulfield, who we know from Buffy, is the character of Dottie, who appeared in episode 2, briefly in episode 3, I think, and then had a 2-second clip in the most recent episode. Now, why would they get an actress like Emma Caulfield, who's recognisable, people know who she is, and only have her appear for 3 seconds? Now, I've been trying to think about this more, and I think the flowers are a huge giveaway, because Wanda's flowers around her house were kind of red and pink, which link to Wanda's powers. We saw in the after credits clip around Agatha's house, they are purple flowers that link to Agatha. Are they hinting that Dottie is a different type of witch or person with powers, and that is going to be linked to the yellow? Because the only 2 people that Sword didn't have on their board was Agatha and Dottie. What do you reckon, Bethany? Is this a hint for things to come for Emma Caulfield's character, or are we just kind of going totally off on one?
We could be totally going off on board, but you actually have got a point there as well, because thinking it back from it, I don't know. I have a feeling she's either another agent of sort,
Mm.
and she either went missing with Wanda, because obviously you've got to remember Vision's body also went missing at the same time, which I have another theory about that, and I could rant on about that one as well. But the flowers as well, could that not be linked to the stone as well?
Could be as well, the colours representing the stones. It is very tough to kind of work out where WandaVision is going because, as John keeps saying, there's a lot of questions. What are some of the answers you would maybe like to see, or what would you like to see going forward, John, for the episodes?
See, I was watching it with my wife, and we both had the same question. Obviously, seeing Evan Peters as Quicksilver, we think that's been done on purpose. Having him play as Quicksilver since he's already been in the X-Men movies, and now Disney own that as well. So I think they've chose him for a reason, but I'm just waiting to see if that is true or not.
So, because I got this idea that Agatha is from another dimension, because in this episode they mention the Nexus, which is kind of like a dimensional, I think the best way of describing it's like a bridge between dimensions where they have all the universes linked together. And obviously we've just mentioned the fact that Agatha didn't know what he looked like, but in her dimension, Pietro looks like that, and that's the reason why she brought him across from the Nexus and using that kind of dimensional thing. Andy, what do you feel is going forward? Can we trust Pietro, or is he fully under the control of Agatha?
I reckon he is. I mean, going by the end, the cutscene where Rambo's kind of like going to the cellar and like he sort of like breaks that whole sort of like sitcom face and just becomes a bit more serious. So I think he's like well under the control of Agatha or whoever else is pulling the strings.
So we have 2 episodes left now, which should be about 40 minutes long each, going by the amount of time that we're meant to have for WandaVision. And one of those episodes has to lead into Doctor Strange and the madness of the multiverse, which means the final episode is going to end on a cliffhanger. Do you think we're going to have a big character reveal in the final episode? Do you feel that it's not going to be resolved? Or we're going to have the death of Vision, where he's going to have to sacrifice himself again to get rid of the Hex? Bethany, where do you think this is going? Where do you think we're going to end up?
I think there probably will be like a big reveal, but right at the end of the last episode. I think it'll just be literally a face or somebody's voice, and that's where they'll leave it. With the Vision as well, I think, and this is what my theory is, obviously Hayward has just announced he's got a weapon ready. Now we know for a fact that we've seen footage that Vision was on a table which was being experimented on, and also Darcy confirmed that in this episode. And I think Hayward's created a new Ultron to defeat Vision and to defeat Wanda as well, so I think he's going to play a major part in these last 2 episodes, and I think we're going to have a cliffhanger for the Doctor Strange movie, definitely.
There's so many different theories that people are throwing out there as well. It's like certain things that they like to do as a misdirect is, for example, what happened to the witness protection person that was mentioned in episode 4 and has never been mentioned again, not been put on the board, never been revealed what they look like. That has not been mentioned. Could that come back in the future? There's so many different theories. John, do you have any theories that you're working with that you'd like to see? Or are you just too confused?
I agreed with Bethany with Mephisto, and as you said, it's going to have to link into Doctor Strange. So I think potentially there could be the big reveal of him being at the end of the last episode, like Marvel have done in the past with the movies when they've shown Thanos for the first time.
What about you, Andy? What would you like to see coming up in these final 2 episodes?
I think it's kind of got the makings of bringing in a whole new pantheon of superheroes coming in. Obviously, like we've already seen kind of the awakening of Rambo's powers, or like possibly in like Spectrum. From the first episode with Jimmy Woo, I keep thinking that's going to be Mr. Negative. So, I think it was something with the Hex that might kind of like awaken his kind of like powers. Like I can't remember how he actually gets his powers in like the comic books, Mr. Negative, but I know I can't remember the actual name of the character, but it's something that sounds kind of like Jimmy Woo, and I'm kind of getting that sort of like sense that like maybe this could be like the MCU's or like this kind of like new version of the character. So it'd be cool to like sort of see, you know, like what else comes down the line, because it does look like the Hex is kind of like giving the odd person like some kind of level of power. So I think it could just be like a whole new kind of like team sort of like forming up, or like a whole like a set of villains, but it could go either way.
I think a lot of people are screaming out for a spin-off show of Jimmy Woo, Darcy and Monica. They seem to be
Like
the characters that everyone's desperate for that, and I don't know if that was ever Marvel's intentions, but they must be sitting down going, actually, we have something here, and the chemistry's just worked out way better than we could ever expected. And it'll be really interesting once this is all done with, is to see what the actors are like together on set, because the other bit of news I just want to mention before we finish is there's going to be a new show called Marvel Assembled, which is going to come after every TV show and movie, which is going to be behind the scenes documentary. Now, I don't know if this is something you guys are interested in watching. I love behind the scenes stuff and how they film, but are you guys going to watch the Marvel Assembled as well? John, we'll go to you first for this one. Would you be watching the behind the scenes episodes?
I think I'd definitely give it a watch. Like, it'd be interesting to see, obviously, it's the behind the scenes for, especially with all the series they've got planned. It'd be good to see what they've done for making it.
What about you, Andy? Are you a behind the scenes type person? Will you be watching Marvel's Assembled?
Yeah, I mean, I guess coming from like an animation and production background, but back in university, like I'd like to sort of like broaden my knowledge of current techniques and sort of like I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, I mean, like, kind of like what John says, like, it'd be like really cool to sort of like see, you know, just how things are made these days, and like the progression of technology and software and stuff that kind of like brings out like the super and all.
What about you, Bethany? We'll be watching the behind the scenes, trying to get little tips on outfits and everything like that for cosplay.
I definitely will. I mean, like as Andy said, I've got quite an interest in like sort of production in itself as well, and I've worked on a few film sets before, so I've always been fascinated with the way that's being filmed, and especially with how you've said that they're going to be doing it, where we're going to have like an in between each of these series and films, and I think it's going to break it up really nicely and actually make people appreciate how much work goes into this. Because I mean, haven't they said that WandaVision has got more CGI than Endgame? So it'll be interesting to see like where they've worked from and all of like the editorial bases where they've get to. It'll probably most likely have been the Hex that's created it, but it'll be interesting to see like how they started it and the set building, and especially because we know for the first 2 episodes had the audience.
Yeah.
That'll be really funny, but yet interesting to see how that worked out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help break up the air. So it works out basically, if the math is right, we will get a new Marvel show or film every Friday for the rest of the year. So if you love Marvel, it's great. If you don't like Marvel, well, don't watch it, basically, is the way to kind of end the podcast. I just want to say thank you to my guests. Andy, if anyone wants to find you on social media, what would be your social media tag to find you? Or do you just don't want people to find you?
Wow, that's like it's a close to guarded secret. At the moment I'm doing more stuff with my nerfing. So I run a nerf team. We do game days throughout the year when COVID isn't a thing. So if you want to follow me on that, there's a Strike Force, which is my squad sort of platform, and my personal nerf account is nerf_commander. So that's where to check me out on that.
Awesome. What about you, Bethany? If people want to find you on the social media, look at your amazing Wanda outfit, where can we find you?
Well, I do have some more Wonder stuff coming up. So it is the Lost Princess cosplayer on both Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, that's where you find me.
And what about you, John? If people want to check you out, I know you're doing Twitch streaming and stuff recently as well. Where can we find you?
Mostly on Twitter with the handle for Alpha Raptor Gaming, which is where my little cardboard raptor of blue comes in, who's just fallen over again. But yeah, so just mainly on Twitter and on Twitch for Alpha Raptor Gaming.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate you coming on, and obviously I appreciate everyone that's been watching and listening to the podcast. That was the week's news. I was CJ. This was SpoilerTV Spodcast, and I'll see you all next week.